The sound of the pressure washer echoed from our garage on a Saturday morning in May, mixing with the chirping of birds in our quiet Austin, Texas neighborhood. I stood at the kitchen sink, rinsing breakfast dishes and watching through the window as my husband Derek meticulously cleaned his Tesla in the driveway, a weekend ritual he'd maintained religiously for the past 3 months. 3 months. The same amount of time our new neighbor, Melissa Chen, had lived in the house directly across the street. I pushed the thought away and focused on loading the dishwasher. Our 14-year-old daughter, Sophie, was upstairs doing homework, and our 11-year-old son, Tyler, was at soccer practice. It was a normal Saturday in our comfortable suburban life, the kind of morning that had defined our 16 years of marriage. Derek's phone sat on the kitchen counter, charging where he'd left it. It buzzed with a text notification, the screen lighting up. Melissa Chen. Wish I could help. My hands froze on a plate. I stared at the message, my heart beginning to race. Melissa Chen, our neighbor, the 32-year-old divorced real estate agent who'd moved in across the street in February with her 6-year-old daughter. The same neighbor who'd been exceptionally friendly since moving in, who always seemed to be outside when Derek left for work, who'd asked Derek to help her fix a leaky faucet last month, who'd invited our whole family to her housewarming party, but spent the entire time talking to Derek about cars and technology. I'd noticed. Of course I'd noticed. But I'd told myself I was being paranoid, jealous, insecure. Derek loved me. We had a good marriage. We'd been together since college, built a life together, raised 2 children together. I picked up his phone. I knew his passcode. Our anniversary, 0615. We'd never had secrets. I unlocked it and opened the message thread with Melissa Chen. My stomach dropped. Melissa, 2 days ago. Thanks again for helping with my garage door. You're a lifesaver. Derek, anytime. That's what neighbors are for. Melissa, some neighbors are better than others. I scrolled back further. Melissa, last week. Coffee at my place this morning was the best part of my day. Derek, mine too. Same time next week? Melissa, can't wait. Coffee at her place. When had Derek been having coffee at Melissa's house? I kept scrolling, my hands shaking. The messages went back weeks, innocent at first, neighborhood pleasantries that gradually became more frequent, more familiar, more intimate. Melissa, 3 weeks ago. I keep thinking about our conversation yesterday. You really get me in a way my ex never did. Derek, I feel the same way. It's nice to talk to someone who understands. Derek, but we should be careful. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. Melissa, what's the wrong idea? That 2 adults enjoy each other's company? And then, from 2 weeks ago, a message that made my blood run cold. Melissa, last night was incredible. I haven't felt like this in years. Derek, me neither. But Natalie can't know. The kids can't know. Natalie, me, his wife of 16 years, the mother of his children. Last night was incredible. What night? I frantically checked the date stamp. April 28th. 2 weeks ago. I tried to remember that night, pulling up my calendar on my own phone. April 28th was the night Derek had said he was going to his friend Mike's house to watch the playoff game. He'd come home around midnight, kissed me on the forehead, and gone straight to bed. He'd been with Melissa. I kept reading, nausea rising with each message. Derek, last week. We need to cool it for a bit. Natalie's been asking questions about where I've been. Melissa, I understand. But I miss you when you're not here. Derek, I miss you too. Just need to be smarter about this. And then, this morning's messages. Derek, 8:15 a.m. Washing the car, thinking about you. Melissa, 8:47 a.m. Wish I could help. That was the message I'd seen. Sent 7 minutes ago while I was making breakfast for our family. I looked out the window. Derek was still in the driveway, spraying down his car, oblivious that I'd just discovered his affair with our neighbor. The neighbor whose house I could see from our kitchen window. The neighbor whose daughter played with Tyler. The neighbor I'd invited to our Easter barbecue last month. My mind reeled. How long had this been going on? Were they sleeping together regularly? Did other neighbors know? Did Mike know Derek hadn't been at his house watching the playoff game? I heard the pressure washer turn off. Derek would be coming back inside soon. I needed to make a decision. Confront him now, or gather more information first. The attorney in me, I'd been a family law paralegal before Sophie was born, kicked in. Evidence, documentation, a plan. I quickly took screenshots of the messages, texting them to myself and immediately deleting the texts from Derek's sent folder. Then I placed his phone back exactly where it had been. My own phone buzzed. The screenshots had come through. Proof of the affair, saved safely. But I needed more than text messages. I needed to understand the full extent of this. I needed to know if my husband was planning to leave me for our 32-year-old divorced neighbor. An idea formed. Risky, possibly insane, but satisfying in a way I desperately needed. I picked up Derek's phone again and typed a response to Melissa's latest message. Me, as Derek. Well, yours is next. I hit send and watched the message deliver. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Melissa. Really? You'll come over after you finish? Me. Yeah. Give me 20 minutes. Natalie's doing stuff inside. Melissa. Perfect. I'll be waiting. Front door will be unlocked. I deleted the message thread from Derek's phone and put it back on the counter. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, Derek would presumably finish washing his car and expect to go across the street to Melissa's house, to help wash her car, apparently. Except I'd be the one answering her unlocked front door. The garage door opened and Derek walked in, sweaty and satisfied, grabbing a towel from the laundry room. Car's looking good, he said, kissing my cheek. I'm going to grab a quick shower. Actually, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, I need you to run to the store. We're out of milk, and Sophie needs poster board for a school project. Can it wait? I just want to shower and relax. It can't wait. She needs it today. I met his eyes. Please? He sighed, the irritation clear on his face. Fine. Let me at least change my shirt. While he was upstairs changing, I checked his phone again. Another message from Melissa. Melissa, where are you? It's been 15 minutes. Everything okay? I didn't respond. When Derek came back down, I handed him a shopping list I'd quickly scrawled. Also, can you grab some things for dinner? I'm making lasagna. Natalie, this is going to take an hour. Then you should get going. The store gets crowded on Saturday afternoons. He grabbed his keys, clearly frustrated. I'll be back soon. I watched him drive away, then grabbed my own keys. 20 minutes had passed since my message to Melissa. She'd be wondering where Derek was. I crossed the street and walked up to Melissa's front door. It was slightly ajar, just as she'd said. I pushed it open and walked in. Derek? Melissa's voice came from upstairs. I'm in the bedroom. Come on up. The bedroom. Of course. I climbed the stairs, my footsteps deliberate and loud. When I reached the master bedroom, I found Melissa sitting on her bed in a silk robe, her hair freshly styled, makeup perfect. Her face went from anticipation to confusion to horror when she saw me. Natalie, what? I didn't... Hi, Melissa. I got your message. Well, Derek's message. The one where you said you wished you could help him wash his car. I pulled out my phone, showing her the screenshots. Along with all the other messages. The coffee dates, the conversations where he really gets you. The night that was incredible. She stood up quickly, tightening her robe. This isn't what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like you're sitting in your bedroom in lingerie waiting for my husband. What else could it possibly look like? Natalie, please? How long? I demanded. How long has this been going on? She looked at the floor. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I have the messages. I know Derek was here on April 28th. I know you've been having coffee together. I know about all of it. Tears started rolling down her face. I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen. That's what they all say. But affairs don't just happen, Melissa. You made choices. Both of you made choices. I stepped closer. My daughter is 14. My son is 11. We've been married for 16 years. And you decided to help yourself to my husband like he was community property. He said you two were having problems. We weren't. We aren't. We have a normal marriage with 2 kids and busy lives. The only problem we have is that my husband has been lying to me for months while sleeping with our neighbor. I didn't know. You knew. You've been to our house. You've met our kids. You knew exactly what you were doing. I pulled out my phone again. I'm going to ask you one more time. How long has the affair been going on? She sat back down on the bed, crying harder now. Since March. About 2 months. It started as friendship. He helped me with things around the house. We started talking more. One thing led to another. And the night of April 28th? He said he was going to a friend's house. He came here instead. We slept together for the first time. So it had been physical for about a month. Not as long as I'd feared, but long enough. Is he planning to leave me for you? I don't know. We haven't talked about the future. We connect. He understands me. He's married with 2 children. He's not available to connect with you. I headed for the door, then turned back. Stay away from my husband. Stay away from my family. If I see you anywhere near Derek again, I'll make sure everyone in this neighborhood knows exactly what kind of neighbor you are. You can't control what Derek does. Watch me. I walked out of her house and across the street to my own, my hands shaking with adrenaline. Inside, I sat at the kitchen table and called my best friend Lauren. Natalie? What's wrong? You sound weird. Derek's having an affair with our neighbor. I just confronted her in her bedroom. What? I told her everything. The text message, the screenshots, the confrontation with Melissa. Oh my God. Are you okay? Do you want me to come over? Not yet. Derek will be back from the store soon. I need to decide how to handle this. What do you mean? You confront him. You throw his cheating ass out. We have 2 kids, Lauren. I can't just blow up their world without thinking it through. He's the one who blew up your world. You're just acknowledging reality. She was right. But the thought of telling Sophie and Tyler that their father had been unfaithful, that our family was breaking apart, made me want to throw up. Let me call you back. Derek's pulling into the driveway. I watched through the window as Derek got out of his car with grocery bags. He looked normal, relaxed, like a man who'd just run errands for his family on a Saturday morning. Not like a man who'd been planning to cheat on his wife with the neighbor while I made lasagna for our family dinner. He walked in, setting the bags on the counter. Got everything on your list. Anything else you need? I looked at him. Really looked at him. At 43, Derek was still handsome. Tall, fit from his gym routine, with graying hair that made him look distinguished. He was a successful software engineer, a good provider, an involved father, and a liar who'd been sleeping with our neighbor for 2 months. No, I said calmly. I don't need anything else from you. He didn't catch the double meaning, just nodded and headed upstairs to shower. I stood alone in the kitchen, groceries still sitting in bags on the counter, and made my decision. I wasn't going to be the wife who ignored this, who pretended everything was fine, who let her husband get away with betrayal for the sake of keeping the family together. But I also wasn't going to confront him right now, in a fit of anger, without a plan. I was going to be strategic, document everything, consult a lawyer, figure out my options. And then I was going to blow up Derek's comfortable little double life in the most devastating way possible. He'd made his choice. Now I'd make mine. Sunday morning, Derek slept in while I made pancakes for Sophie and Tyler. I watched them eat breakfast, their faces innocent and happy, completely unaware that their father was destroying our family. "Where's Dad?" Tyler asked, syrup dripping down his chin. "Sleeping. He was tired from washing the car yesterday." Sophie, always more perceptive, studied my face. "Are you okay, Mom? You seem weird." "I'm fine, honey. Just didn't sleep well." After breakfast, Derek finally came downstairs in his running clothes. "I'm going for a run. Back in an hour." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. The moment he left, I grabbed his laptop from the study. He rarely used it on weekends, preferring his phone, but I needed to see if there was more evidence. I knew his computer password, the same as his phone. Within minutes, I was in his email. What I found made the text messages look tame. He'd created a separate email account I didn't know about. DerekAndersonPersonalGmail.com. Mail to DerekAndersonPersonalEdgeMail.com. The primary account, the one I knew about, was family emails and work correspondence. This secret account was all Melissa. Dozens of emails going back to early March. I started reading chronologically. March 8th, Derek to Melissa. "It was great talking to you at the neighborhood potluck last night. Your perspective on single parenting is really insightful. If you ever need help with anything around the house, don't hesitate to ask. That's what neighbors are for. Innocent enough. But then, March 15th, Melissa to Derek. Thanks again for fixing my garbage disposal. You're a lifesaver. Let me return the favor. Come over for coffee Tuesday morning after Natalie leaves for her volunteer work. Tuesday mornings. The mornings I volunteered at Tyler's school library. Derek worked from home Tuesdays. I'd had no idea he was spending those mornings across the street. March 22nd. Derek to Melissa. I can't stop thinking about our conversation yesterday. You're right that life is short, and we should pursue happiness. I haven't felt this alive in years. March 29th. Melissa to Derek. I know this is complicated because you're married. But Derek, what we have is special. I haven't connected with anyone like this since my divorce. Maybe this happened for a reason. April 5th. Derek to Melissa. You make me feel young again. Like I'm not just someone's husband or someone's father, but my own person. Natalie and we've grown apart over the years. She's focused on the kids, I'm focused on work. We're more like roommates than partners. Roommates. He'd described our marriage as roommates. I felt tears threatening but pushed them down. I had to keep reading. Had to know everything. April 12th. Melissa to Derek. I can't stop thinking about you. About what it would be like to be with you. Really be with you. April 19th. Derek to Melissa. I think about it too, more than I should. But I have the kids to think about. Sophie and Tyler need stability. April 26th. Melissa to Derek. Kids are resilient. They adapt. And wouldn't they rather have a happy father than one who's stuck in a marriage that doesn't fulfill him? Think about it. 2 days later, he'd slept with her for the first time. April 29th. Derek to Melissa. Last night was incredible. Being with you felt right in a way nothing has felt right in years. I don't know what to do about this. I don't know how to choose. May 3rd. Melissa to Derek. You don't have to choose right now. We can keep this between us while you figure things out. I'm not going anywhere. May 10th. Derek to Melissa. I think I'm falling in love with you. That terrifies me. May 11th. Melissa to Derek. Don't be terrified. This is beautiful. We're beautiful together. Trust in this. I'm falling in love with you. He was in love with her. This wasn't just sex or a midlife crisis. He had feelings for her. I closed the laptop, feeling like I might be sick. My husband of 16 years was in love with our 32-year-old neighbor and thinking about leaving me for her. The front door opened. Derek, back from his run, sweaty and breathing hard. Good run? I asked, my voice mechanically pleasant. Great. The weather's perfect. He grabbed water from the fridge. What are you up to? Just checking email, work stuff. On Sunday? You need to relax more, Nat. The hypocrisy was stunning. He was lecturing me about relaxing while conducting an affair. After Derek showered, we had family lunch, grilled chicken and salad that I prepared while mentally cataloging evidence for my eventual divorce filing. Sophie talked about her upcoming science fair project. Tyler complained about his math homework. Derek was engaged and attentive, the perfect father, the perfect liar. That afternoon, while Derek took Tyler to soccer practice and Sophie went to a friend's house, I drove to Lauren's house in nearby Westlake. Tell me everything, she said, pouring us both wine despite it being 3 p.m. I showed her the emails, the text messages, everything I'd found. He's in love with her, Lauren said, reading the messages. This isn't just physical. He's emotionally involved. I know. What are you going to do? I called a divorce attorney. I have a consultation tomorrow morning. You're really doing this? You're not going to try counseling? Lauren? He said he's falling in love with her. He's been lying to me for 2 months. He's described our marriage as roommates. What's there to save? She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're right. I'm sorry. You guys have been together forever. It's hard to imagine you not together. It's hard for me too. But I can't unknow what I know. I can't pretend this didn't happen. What about Sophie and Tyler? That's the hardest part. They're going to be devastated. I took a long sip of wine. But Derek made this choice, not me. He chose to risk our family for Melissa Chen. Now he gets to face the consequences. When are you going to tell him you know? After I talk to the lawyer tomorrow. I want to know my options, understand the process. Then I'll confront him. Do you want me there when you do it? No. This is something I need to do alone. That night, Derek and I watched a movie with the kids. Some superhero thing Tyler picked. We sat on the couch like a normal family, Derek's arm around my shoulders, completely unaware that I knew everything. After the kids went to bed, Derek tried to initiate sex. Not tonight, I said, pulling away. I have a headache. You okay? You've seemed off all weekend. I'm fine, just tired. He accepted this easily and fell asleep within minutes. I lay awake beside him, staring at the ceiling, trying to reconcile the man snoring next to me with the man who'd written those emails to Melissa. At some point, I must have fallen asleep, because I woke Monday morning to Derek's alarm. He got up, showered, dressed for work. His usual routine. I have a late meeting tonight, he said, kissing my forehead. Don't wait up. A late meeting. Or a visit to Melissa's house while I put our children to bed. Oblivious. Okay, have a good day. After getting the kids to school, I drove to the office of Margaret Rodriguez, the divorce attorney Lauren had recommended. Her office was in a high-rise downtown, all glass and chrome and expensive furniture. Margaret herself was a woman in her 50s, impeccably dressed with sharp eyes that probably missed nothing. Mrs. Anderson, thank you for coming in. Tell me about your situation. I told her everything. The discovered texts, the secret email account, the affair with our neighbor, Derek's professed feelings for Melissa. She took notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. First, I'm sorry you're going through this. It's never easy, especially with children involved. She pulled out a folder. Let's talk about Texas law and your options. We spent 2 hours discussing divorce proceedings, asset division, child custody. Texas was a community property state, meaning marital assets would be split 50-50. But adultery could impact the division, especially if Derek had spent marital funds on the affair. Document everything, Margaret advised. Hotels, dinners, gifts, anything he purchased for or with Melissa using joint accounts. That could work in your favor. What about the house? You've lived there? How long? 9 years. It's worth about $650,000 now. We owe $300,000 on the mortgage. With 2 children, courts typically try to keep them in the family home for stability. You'd have a strong case for staying in the house, with Derek buying out your portion of the equity or vice versa. And custody? Unless there's abuse or neglect, Texas courts favor joint custody. But given that you've been the primary caregiver, you mentioned you haven't worked outside the home since Sophie was born. You'd likely get primary physical custody with generous visitation for Derek. Primary custody. The kids living with me. Seeing their father every other weekend and 1 night a week, maybe. Their lives completely disrupted because Derek couldn't keep his vows. How long does the process take? If he doesn't contest, 6 to 8 months from filing to finalization. If he fights, could be a year or more. I left Margaret's office with a retainer agreement and a plan. I'd document Derek's spending, gather more evidence if possible, and file for divorce by the end of the month. That evening, Derek came home at 9:30 p.m., citing the late meeting. His shirt collar was slightly wrinkled. He smelled faintly of perfume, something floral and definitely not mine. How was your meeting? I asked from the couch where I'd been pretending to read. Long, tedious. The client had a million questions. He loosened his tie. Kids asleep? Tyler is. Sophie's reading in her room. He went upstairs to say goodnight to Sophie, and I checked his phone, which he'd left on the counter. A new message from Melissa. Melissa, miss you already. Tonight was perfect. Tonight. He'd been with her tonight. While telling me he had a late meeting, he'd been across the street with Melissa, doing God knows what while our children slept in their beds. I took a screenshot and sent it to myself, then deleted the evidence of my snooping. When Derek came back downstairs, I was in the kitchen making tea. Want some? I offered, keeping my voice light. No thanks. I'm exhausted. Heading to bed. He kissed me goodnight, the same mouth that had probably kissed Melissa hours earlier, and went upstairs. I stayed downstairs for another hour, documenting everything in a journal Margaret had advised me to keep. Dates, times, suspicious behavior, building a case. Tuesday morning, Derek worked from home as usual. After I left for my volunteer shift at Tyler's school, I didn't actually go to the library. Instead, I parked down the street with a clear view of both our house and Melissa's. At 9:15 a.m., Derek left our house and walked across the street to Melissa's. He used a key to let himself in. A key. He had a key to her house. At 11:45 a.m., he emerged, smoothing his hair, and walked back home. I had him. I had evidence of the affair, proof of his lies, documentation of his betrayal. Now I just had to decide when and how to confront him. I decided to wait until Friday. Give myself the week to prepare, to gather my strength, to make sure I had everything I needed before blowing up Derek's comfortable double life. Tuesday through Thursday passed in a surreal haze. I went through the motions, making meals, helping with homework, volunteering at school, attending Tyler's soccer game. Derek maintained his routine, working, exercising, attending Sophie's band concert, being the devoted father and husband, except Tuesday and Thursday mornings when he visited Melissa, and Wednesday evening when he had another late meeting. Each lie built the wall between us higher. Each betrayal made it easier to imagine a future without him. Friday morning, I told Derek I was meeting Lauren for lunch and would be gone most of the afternoon. He barely looked up from his laptop. Have fun, I'll hold down the fort. Instead of meeting Lauren, I drove to a lawyer's office and signed the retainer agreement with Margaret Rodriguez. Papers would be drawn up over the weekend, ready to file Monday morning. At 3 p.m., I picked up the kids from school as usual. Sophie had her friend Mia coming over for a sleepover. Tyler had a playdate at his friend Jake's house where he'd spend the night. I'd arranged it deliberately. The kids would be occupied, safe, away from the house when I confronted Derek about his affair. At 6 p.m., I drove Tyler to Jake's house and came home to find Sophie and Mia giggling upstairs. Derek was in the kitchen, starting dinner. I thought I'd make that pasta you like, he said, chopping vegetables. The domesticity of it enraged me. He was playing house, pretending to be the perfect husband, while conducting an affair across the street. Actually, the girls want pizza, I said. Why don't you order that while I run Sophie over to Mia's house for the sleepover? I thought Mia was sleeping here. Change of plans. Mia's mom has a movie the girls want to watch. He shrugged, not really caring. Okay, I'll order pizza for us then. Don't. I ate a late lunch with Lauren. I'm not hungry. After dropping Sophie at Mia's house with instructions to call if she needed anything, I drove home with my hands shaking. This was it. Tonight I'd confront Derek about everything. He was on the couch watching TV when I got back. The house was quiet, empty, just the two of us. Kids all settled? He asked. Yeah. Derek, we need to talk. Something in my tone made him look up. What's wrong? I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots. I know about Melissa. The color drained from his face. What? I know about the affair. I've known since Saturday. I read your messages, your emails, everything. He stood up slowly. Natalie, don't try to explain or make excuses. I've seen it all. The coffee dates, the Tuesday morning visits, the nights you claim to have meetings. I know you're in love with her. When did you? Saturday morning. You left your phone on the counter. Melissa texted you. I read the thread and found your secret email account. I showed him the screenshots. I know everything, Derek, so please don't insult me by lying. He sat back down heavily, his head in his hands. Jesus, Natalie. I didn't want you to find out like this. How did you want me to find out? Were you planning to tell me eventually? Or just keep sneaking across the street to sleep with our neighbor while I played the oblivious wife? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain it to me. Explain how you've been having an affair for 2 months while telling me you love me, while tucking our children into bed every night, while planning our family vacation to Colorado this summer. I do love you. You're in love with Melissa. You told her so in an email. So don't you dare say you love me. He looked up, tears in his eyes. I love you both. I know that doesn't make sense, but it's true. You don't get to love us both, Derek. That's not how marriage works. You made vows to me. You promised to forsake all others. You broke that promise the first time you kissed Melissa. I never meant for this to happen. It just developed. She understood me in a way you haven't in years. Because you shut me out. You stopped talking to me about anything real. You came home from work and went straight to your laptop. You spent weekends on your phone. You chose to disconnect from me and then you blame me for not understanding you? You're always busy with the kids, with your volunteering. You don't have time for me. I make time for what matters to me, and you used to matter, but clearly I don't matter to you anymore. That's not true. Then why did you cheat? If I matter so much, why did you risk our marriage for Melissa? He didn't have an answer. When did you sleep with her? I asked. The first time. April 28th. The night you said you were at Mike's watching the game. Yes. Have there been other times? Yes. Tuesday mornings sometimes. A few evenings when I said I was working late. How many times total? I don't know. Maybe 10? 12? 10 or 12 times. My husband had slept with our neighbor 10 or 12 times while I cooked his meals and washed his clothes and managed his household. Are you in love with her? He hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything. I think so. I don't know. I'm confused. You told her you were falling in love with her. That doesn't sound confused. Natalie, I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. You hurt me in the worst way possible. You betrayed me, lied to me, made me feel like I was going crazy for sensing something was wrong. I'm sorry. Sorry you did it or sorry you got caught. He didn't answer. I walked to the window, looking out at Melissa's house across the street. Lights were on. She was home, probably wondering if Derek was going to visit tonight. I want a divorce, I said quietly. Natalie, please. I've already met with a lawyer. Papers will be filed Monday. You can contest if you want, but I have documentation of everything. The emails, the texts, the times you visited her house. It won't go well for you if you fight this. What about Sophie and Tyler? What about them? You should have thought about them before you started sleeping with Melissa. They need their father. They'll still have their father, just not living in this house. You'll have to figure out visitation and custody arrangements. You can't just kick me out. I'm not kicking you out. I'm ending our marriage. You can stay in the house until the divorce is finalized if you want, but you'll sleep in the guest room. Or you can move in with Melissa. I don't care which. Natalie, please. Can't we try counseling? Try to work through this? Work through what? Your affair? Your feelings for another woman? The fact that you've been lying to me for months? I turned to face him. There's nothing to work through, Derek. You made your choice when you kissed her the first time, when you slept with her, when you told her you were falling in love with her. You chose her over me, over our family. Now you get to live with that choice. I didn't choose her. I love you. I want to save our marriage. You want to save your comfortable life. You want your wife handling the household and raising the kids while you have your exciting affair with the younger neighbor. Well, you can't have both. You have to choose. I choose you. I choose our family. It's too late. I don't want you anymore. The words hung in the air. Derek looked like I'd slapped him. You don't mean that. I do. You destroyed what we had. You can't unring that bell. Every time I look at you, I'll see you with Melissa. Every time you're late from work, I'll wonder if you're really working. Every time you check your phone, I'll wonder who you're texting. That's not a marriage. That's a prison. So that's it? 16 years and you're just done? You were done when you started the affair. I'm just acknowledging reality. He stood up, pacing the room. What do I tell people? My parents? Our friends? The kids? Tell them the truth. That you had an affair with our neighbor and I'm divorcing you. Natalie. Or lie about it. You're good at that. He flinched. Good. I wanted him to hurt the way I was hurting. When are we telling Sophie and Tyler? Tomorrow. After I pick up Sophie from her sleepover and Tyler from Jake's. We'll tell them together. What are you going to say? The truth. Age-appropriate but honest. That you made choices that hurt our marriage. That we're getting divorced. That it's not their fault. They're going to hate me. Maybe, but that's a consequence of your actions, not mine. My phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. Melissa, is Derek coming over tonight? Haven't heard from him. I showed Derek the message. Your girlfriend is wondering where you are. He looked stricken. I'll tell her it's over. Do whatever you want. You're not my problem anymore. Natalie, please, don't throw away 16 years because I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the store. This was a choice. Multiple choices. Made over months, knowing it would destroy our family if I found out. I headed for the stairs. I'm going to bed. Sleep in the guest room or sleep with Melissa. I don't care which. Just don't sleep in our bed. Our bed? My bed now. You gave up the right to it when you started sleeping in hers. I went upstairs, locked the bedroom door, and finally let myself cry. Deep, wrenching sobs that shook my whole body. I cried for the marriage I'd lost, for the family that was breaking apart, for the 16 years I'd invested in a man who'd thrown it all away. I cried myself to sleep and woke up Saturday morning with swollen eyes and a headache. Downstairs, Derek was making coffee. He looked like he hadn't slept either. Did you sleep in the guest room? I asked. Yes. Good. We sat in awkward silence, drinking coffee, waiting for time to pass until we could pick up the kids and destroy their world. At 10 a.m., I picked up Sophie from Mia's house. She was in a great mood, chattering about the movie they'd watched and the pancakes Mia's mom had made for breakfast. Can Mia come over next weekend? She asked on the drive home. We'll see, honey. Dad and I need to talk to you about something when we get home. Her face grew serious. What about? We'll discuss it when Tyler gets back. I picked up Tyler at 11 a.m. Derek was waiting in the living room when we got home, his face drawn and exhausted. Kids, sit down, I said gently. Dad and I need to tell you something important. Sophie's eyes widened with fear. Tyler looked confused. What's going on? Sophie asked. Is someone sick? No, everyone's healthy, Derek said. But your mom and I have some hard news. We're getting divorced. The words hung in the air. Sophie's face crumpled. Tyler looked between us, not comprehending. What? Why? Sophie demanded. You guys never even fight. Sometimes people grow apart, I said carefully. Sometimes marriages don't work out, even when both people try. But you didn't try. Sophie was crying now. You're just giving up. That's not fair. Tyler's lower lip trembled. Are you getting divorced because of me? Because I got in trouble at school last month? My heart broke. Oh, baby, no. This has nothing to do with you or Sophie. This is about grown-up problems between Dad and me. What problems? Sophie pressed. What happened? I looked at Derek. We'd agreed to tell the truth, but age-appropriately. How do you tell a 14-year-old that her father cheated with the neighbor? Dad made some choices that hurt our marriage, I said carefully. Choices that I can't forgive. It's not your fault. It's not anyone's fault except the adults involved. Sophie was smart. I saw her working through it. Did Dad cheat on you? Derek closed his eyes. Yes, I said quietly. He did. With who? Sophie demanded, her voice shrill. That's not important. Was it Melissa? From across the street? The fact that she'd guessed made it worse somehow. Had she seen something? Suspected something? Yes, I admitted. It was Melissa. Sophie stood up, her face red with fury. I hate you, she screamed at Derek. I hate you. How could you do this to Mom? How could you do this to us? Sophie. Derek reached for her, but she jerked away. Don't touch me. I don't want to talk to you. She ran upstairs, slamming her bedroom door. Tyler was crying quietly. Are you going to move away, Dad? No, buddy. I'll always be your dad. I'll see you all the time. But you won't live here anymore? Probably not, but I'll get a place nearby. You'll have your own room at my house. I don't want 2 houses. I want 1 house with both of you. Derek pulled Tyler into a hug, both of them crying. I watched, my heart breaking for my children, fury burning for my husband. This was his fault, all of it. The tears, the pain, the shattered family. He'd done this. After Tyler calmed down, I took him to his room to play video games while Derek went upstairs to try to talk to Sophie. I could hear her screaming at him through the door. Go away, I don't want to talk to you. Sophie, please. You ruined everything, everything. I hope you and Melissa are happy together because you're never going to see me again. Sophie, get out! Derek came back downstairs, defeated. She won't talk to me. Give her time. She's processing. This is a nightmare. I never wanted this. Then you shouldn't have cheated. The rest of the weekend was tense and miserable. Sophie refused to speak to Derek. Tyler clung to both of us, afraid we'd disappear. I moved through the hours mechanically, comforting children while dying inside. Monday morning, Margaret Rodriguez filed the divorce papers. Derek was officially served at work. He called me, his voice tight with emotion. The papers arrived. This is really happening. Yes, it is. Natalie, please reconsider. We can work through this. No, Derek, we can't. Sign the papers or don't, but either way, this marriage is over. That evening, Derek packed a bag and moved to a hotel. He'd tried to stay in the guest room, but Sophie's hostility made it untenable. I can't be in the same house as him, she'd said. If he stays, I'll go to Aunt Lauren's. So Derek left, hugging Tyler goodbye while Sophie refused to come downstairs. After he was gone, the house felt different. Quieter, emptier, but also cleaner somehow, like something toxic had been removed. Over the next few weeks, Derek and I communicated only through our attorneys. He contested nothing. The custody arrangement, the property division, none of it. He just wanted it done. He's not fighting you on anything, Margaret said during one of our meetings. That's unusual. Most spouses in his position try to negotiate better terms. He feels guilty, and he knows I have documentation of everything. Fighting would just make it public. Well, it's working in your favor. We should have everything finalized within 6 months. Sophie remained furious at Derek. She refused his calls, deleted his texts, wouldn't go to his new apartment for visitation. Tyler went every other weekend, but he always came home sad. Dad's place is nice, he'd report, but it's not home, and he's sad all the time. I tried to feel sympathy for Derek. I couldn't. In June, I ran into Melissa at the grocery store. She saw me and tried to avoid me, but I walked up to her deliberately. Natalie, she started. Did Derek move in with you? I asked bluntly. No, we're not together anymore. I ended it after you confronted me. Smart decision. Did you really think he'd leave his family for you? He said he would. He said he loved me. He lied. That's what cheaters do. She looked like she might cry. I'm moving. Back to California. I can't stay in this neighborhood anymore. Good. That'll make things easier for everyone. I walked away, feeling nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just emptiness. That summer was the hardest of my life. Managing 2 children's grief while processing my own. Dealing with lawyers and paperwork. Explaining the divorce to family and friends. Derek's parents blamed me, of course. You're not even trying to work it out, his mother accused. Marriage takes work, Natalie. I worked on our marriage for 16 years, I said calmly. Derek's the one who stopped trying. By August, Sophie had started therapy to deal with her anger. She still barely spoke to Derek, but at least she was processing her feelings with a professional. Tyler seemed to adjust better, or maybe he was just younger and more resilient. He accepted the new normal, 2 houses, 2 sets of belongings, a father who was no longer part of daily life. In September, the divorce was finalized. 16 years of marriage ended. I kept the house, primary custody of the kids, and my share of our assets. Derek paid child support and took the kids every other weekend. How do you feel? Lauren asked over wine the night the papers were signed. Free, sad, relieved, all of it. Are you going to start dating? God, no. I need time to figure out who I am outside of being Derek's wife. That's healthy. Over the next year, I slowly rebuilt my life. I went back to work part-time as a paralegal. I reconnected with old friends. I redecorated the house, removing all traces of Derek's presence. Sophie gradually softened toward her father, though their relationship would never be what it was. Tyler continued his every other weekend visitation, though he always seemed relieved to come home. I dated a bit, nothing serious. It felt strange after 16 years with one person, but also exciting in a way I hadn't expected. Melissa moved to California as planned. Derek dated occasionally, but nothing stuck. He'd destroyed his family for an affair that lasted 2 months, and now he was alone in a 1-bedroom apartment, seeing his kids every other weekend. He'd made his choice. Now he lived with it. 2 years after discovering the affair, I stood in my kitchen, the same kitchen where Derek's phone had buzzed with Melissa's text, making pancakes for Sophie and Tyler on a Saturday morning. "Mom, can I go to Dad's this weekend even though it's not his weekend?" Tyler asked. "He got tickets to the football game. If it's okay with him, it's okay with me." Sophie, now 16, looked up from her phone. "Can I stay home? I have a lot of homework." "Sure, honey." Our new normal had settled into a rhythm. The kids had adjusted, Derek had accepted his role as the non-custodial parent, and I had built a life I was proud of. My phone rang. An unknown number, but local Austin area code. "Hello? Is this Natalie Anderson? This is Jennifer Walsh from Walsh & Associates. I'm calling because we're looking to hire an experienced family law paralegal. Your former supervisor gave me your name as a reference." A job offer. A real one. At one of the best family law firms in Austin. "I'm definitely interested. When can we schedule an interview? How about Monday at 10 a.m.? After hanging up, I allowed myself a moment of pride. 2 years ago, I'd been a devastated wife discovering her husband's affair. Now I was a single mother with a career opportunity, rebuilding my professional life along with my personal one. That afternoon, Derek picked up Tyler for the football game. We'd achieved a cordial co-parenting relationship. Not friends, but not enemies. Just two adults managing a shared responsibility. "Tyler's excited about the game," I said, handing Derek our son's overnight bag. "Yeah, he's been talking about it all week." Derek paused. "How are you doing?" "Really? Good. Actually good. I have a job interview Monday." "That's great, Nat. Really great." "Thanks. How about you?" "Okay. Working a lot. Seeing the kids when I can." He looked at me carefully. "I'm dating someone. It's getting serious. I wanted you to hear it from me before the kids mention it. I waited for the sting of jealousy or hurt. Nothing came. I'm glad you found someone. The kids should probably meet her if it's serious." "Really? You're okay with that?" "Derek, we've been divorced for 18 months. You're allowed to date. Just be careful with the kids. They've been through enough." "I will. I promise." He hesitated. "I'm sorry, Natalie. For everything. I know it's 2 years too late, but I am sorry." "I believe you. But sorry doesn't change what happened." "I know. But I need you to know that I regret it. Every day. I destroyed the best thing in my life for something that meant nothing. It meant something at the time. You were in love with her. I thought I was. But it was just excitement and ego. What we had was real. I didn't appreciate it until I lost it. Well, now you know. Maybe you'll do better with the next one." After Derek left with Tyler, Sophie came downstairs. "Was that weird? Dad talking about his new girlfriend?" "A little. But I'm genuinely happy for him. I want him to be happy, just not with me." "You're really okay? You're not just pretending?" I thought about her question. "I'm really okay. Better than okay, actually. These past 2 years have been hard, but I've grown so much. I like who I am now. I'm proud of you, Mom. And I'm sorry I was so angry at you when you guys first split up. You were angry at the situation. That was normal. No, I was angry at you for not trying to fix it. But I understand now. Dad made his choice. You just responded to it." She hugged me tight, and I held my daughter, grateful for her resilience and maturity. Monday morning, I nailed the interview. By Tuesday, I had a job offer. By the following Monday, I was working full-time as a family law paralegal, helping other people navigate divorces and custody battles. "How's it feel to be back in the workforce?" Lauren asked over lunch one day. "Amazing. I forgot how much I loved this work. Helping people through the worst time of their lives, giving them hope that there's life after divorce." Speaking from experience? Absolutely. In October, 2 years after confronting Melissa in her bedroom, I started dating someone seriously. His name was Ryan, a divorced dad I'd met through work. He was kind, funny, and respected my boundaries about taking things slow. "No pressure," he'd said on our third date. "I know you've been through a lot. We'll move at whatever pace feels right for you." By Christmas, Ryan and I were seeing each other exclusively. Sophie and Tyler met him in January and gave their approval. "He's nice," Sophie said. "And he doesn't try too hard, like he's not trying to be our dad or anything." Good. Because he's not. You have a dad. I know, but it's nice to see you happy, Mom. You smile more now than you did when you were married. She was right. I was happier. Not because I was dating Ryan, but because I'd rebuilt my life on my own terms. I had a career I was passionate about, children I adored, friends who supported me, and the knowledge that I could survive anything. In March, 3 years after the affair, I got an unexpected email from Melissa. Dear Natalie, I know this email is probably unwelcome, and I completely understand if you delete it without reading. But I wanted to reach out and apologize properly for my role in hurting you and your family. What I did was unforgivable. I pursued a married man, participated in destroying a family, and justified it all by telling myself Derek's marriage was already over. It wasn't. And even if it had been, that didn't excuse my actions. I've spent the past 3 years in therapy working through why I made such destructive choices. I was lonely after my divorce, craving validation, and I didn't think about the consequences of my actions, only about what I wanted. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I'm deeply sorry. You deserved so much better from your husband, and certainly from your neighbor. I hope you and your children are doing well. I think about the damage I caused to your family often, and I'm ashamed. Sincerely, Melissa. I read the email 3 times, sitting with my complicated feelings, anger that she'd helped destroy my marriage, sympathy for someone who clearly carried guilt, gratitude for the apology, even if it was years too late. I hit reply and wrote, Melissa, thank you for your email and your apology. What you did was wrong, but I appreciate you taking responsibility for your part in it. I've moved on. I have a good life, a career I love, and I'm happier now than I was in my marriage. While I don't condone what you did, I also don't hold on to anger about it anymore. That takes too much energy. I hope you've learned from this experience and that you make better choices in the future. Take care. Natalie. After sending it, I felt lighter. Forgiveness, I'd learned, wasn't about the other person. It was about releasing yourself from the burden of carrying anger and resentment. That summer, Derek got engaged to his girlfriend, Claire. The kids seemed happy about it, which was all that mattered. Claire's nice, Tyler reported after spending a weekend at Derek's. She makes really good cookies. Sophie was more measured. She's okay. I mean, she's not you, but she treats Dad well and she's nice to us. That's all I can ask for. In September, Ryan asked me to move in with him. I said no. Not because I don't want to, I explained. But I need to be on my own for a while longer. I went from my parents' house to college to marriage. I've never lived alone as an adult. I need to do that before I live with someone else. I understand, and I respect that. Thank you for being patient with me. You're worth waiting for. By the time the 4-year anniversary of discovering the affair rolled around, I barely thought about it. I was too busy living my life, working, parenting, dating, thriving. One evening in late October, I stood in my kitchen making dinner when Sophie came in holding her phone. Mom, there's a woman at my school who spoke to our assembly today about resilience and overcoming adversity. She told us about getting divorced after her husband cheated and how she rebuilt her life. It made me think of you. What did she say? That the worst thing that happened to her ended up being the best thing. That it freed her to become who she was supposed to be. That she wouldn't change it now because it led her to a better life. I thought about that. Would I change it? Would I go back and prevent Derek's affair if I could? I don't know if I'd say it was the best thing, I said carefully. It was incredibly painful. But Sophie, I'm happier now than I was in my marriage. I'm more myself. I'm not trying to be the perfect wife or make myself smaller to fit someone else's life. I'm just me. So you don't regret divorcing Dad? Not for a second. I regret the pain you and Tyler went through, but for myself, no regrets. Good, because you're kind of amazing, Mom. The way you handled everything, it taught me that women don't have to stay with men who betray them, that we can choose ourselves. Later that night, after the kids were in bed, I stood at the kitchen window looking out at the house across the street, Melissa's old house, now occupied by a nice young couple with twins. 4 years ago, I'd discovered a text message that shattered my world. "Wish I could help," Melissa had written to my husband while he washed his car. I'd responded, "Well, yours is next," setting in motion a confrontation that would end my marriage but begin my real life. Derek had made his choice that day in Melissa's bedroom. He'd chosen himself, his desires, his need for excitement and validation over his wife and children, and in doing so, he'd freed me to make my own choice. I chose myself, my career, my growth, my future. And 4 years later, standing in the kitchen of the house that was now entirely mine, with children who were thriving despite the divorce, a career I was passionate about, and a partner who valued me, I knew I'd made the right choice. Derek's affair had destroyed the life I thought I wanted, but it had created the life I actually needed. And for that, though I'd never thank him for the betrayal, I was grateful. Not for what he did, but for who I became because of it. Stronger, wiser, more authentically myself than I'd ever been. The woman who discovered that text message 4 years ago would barely recognize me now. And that was exactly the point.